and welcome to episode number 42 of Hot for Teacher, which I guess makes this episode the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Is that how that goes? Am I doing the nerd joke right? Speaking of nerd jokes, I spent like an hour this morning just talking on the internet about Dungeons and Dragons and love. And it's just like, you know how every once in a while something happens and you're like, did they make this just for me? Is this just a thing that the universe has given me to because like I love thinking about the ways that role-playing games simulate either a sort of realistic or a fantasy universe, and looking for places where the mechanisms imply things that are very different about our world. Like imagine if you were reading through a role-playing game, and let's say it's a Renaissance fantasy role-playing game, and it's full of mechanisms about jumping and running and sliding down banisters and sword fighting. But in the rules, there are rules for pistols, and pistols deal no damage. You can use them to intimidate people. You can threaten to shoot somebody, but if you actually shoot them, nothing will happen, right? What does that rule say about the universe in which we are playing this game, right? That in this universe, guns literally don't kill people, right? So what I was talking about on Twitter this morning was there's some piece of Dungeons and Dragons ephemera floating around about the love domain. Now, I don't know if it's official or if it's, if it's a fan thing or whatever, but it came up and it got me thinking about how role-playing games talk about relationships. And I feel like what I got to do is a little bit more research, and then we should do a crossover episode. What do you think? Should we do like a Hot for Office Hours, like a crossover where we just talk about for like an hour relationships and love and friendship and community in role-playing games? It'd be pretty cool, hey? Yeah. Hot for Dungeons. But yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to say like, okay, we're gonna compare, 6 different role-playing games, and we're gonna talk about what these role-playing games think about human relationships, right? Relationships between conscious people. So yeah, I think that'd be kind of a fun thing to do. But for now, I have other topics we need to discuss. I got stuff we got to talk about. Starting with, what are we doing? What is this? So, I mean, we're 42 episodes in now, and I generally assume that if you're tuning in, you have an idea of what Hot for Teacher might be about. And I always reiterate, because I don't want people to think that necessarily that I am here to. So the idea of the show, just to give you a framework, the idea of the show is that people who are, thinking about stuff relationship wise, people are having relationship troubles, people are curious about how other people have relationships. They go to my website, go to adam-koble.com, and they click on the Hot for Teacher link, and they put their question in that form. And then every week that we do an episode for the past, 42 weeks, I have been choosing 3 questions or 3 topics or whatever, and then we just discuss them. I don't do any prep other than that. I just pick the questions. I used to prepare for these things differently. I used to write out notes and like think about them, but I find it a lot more organic and honestly a lot more fun because I have chat here and we're doing the thing. I kind of prefer just having the questions and then talking about them. And the idea here, and just to sort of be clear, I'm not obviously a therapist or a counselor. I'm not trying to like tell people this is necessarily what you should do. I'm using these things as a springboard to talk about relationships and similar topics. So it's not really an advice show in the same way that Office Hours is. It's really more of a like, hey, who wants to talk about feelings show. So that's what we're going to do today. I've got 3 questions, each one touching on a different facet of being a person and trying to have a relationship with other people. And if you have questions that you want to ask, there is a command in chat, which I think would be over here for you. Or you can just go to my website and do the thing. So let's begin, shall we? Let's answer question number 1. Question number 1 comes to us from Jeeves. Normally, this is going to be an old internet joke. You ready? Normally, I'm the one asking Jeeves. But in Soviet Russia, Jeeves asks you, I guess. Anyway, Jeeves, Jeeves, my friend, let's talk about this question. So here we go. This year, I decided not to attend a convention. Oh, big same. I've gone to with a bunch of friends each year for the last 6 in order to save that money for a different solo holiday. Fuck yeah. Originally, I'd planned to just miss this year, but now that I'm not attending, I'm actually really glad. I didn't realize it until I'd committed to not going, but the planning, the travel, and the event itself really stressed me out. And the enjoyable presence of my friends there, with me only partially mitigated all that stress. It felt weird and somewhat selfish enough to be removing what was previously the biggest social event of my year for a solo getaway just this once. But now I've had more and more time to think about it. This absence of that event looming closer on my calendar has really brightened the entire first part of my year. I suppose my question is this okay? Am I shooting myself in the foot by denying myself a big social event like a convention, even when I have to suffer through in parts to find the enjoyable bits? I spent a lot of my younger life being told that social was practically always preferable to not being social, right? Being social was practical. Okay, sorry. Being told that being social was practically always preferable to not being social. And while I've tried to unlearn that rule and take things on a more case-by-case basis, I still feel uncertain at times as to how much me time is healthy. Is it bad? I do want to spend my time, energy, and money on a personal holiday rather than one I know I could be going on with my friends. Ironhide667 in chat nailed this one. It sounds like Adam is answering a question from himself. This does sound like a ringer, doesn't it? This just sounds like me being like, hello, my name is Mr. Burns. I believe you have a package for me. Like, it's not, though. I picked this one, I think, because this year especially, but in general, I really resonate with this. Like, if you've ever heard me talk about Gen Con, you can hear in my tone of voice the weird Stockholm syndrome that I suffer from that convention for these reasons, right? Like, I every year around this time, around January, February, I begin to loathe the idea of going to Gen Con. Because for me, it is a massive amount of work to get there, despite not being that far away. God damn it, Indianapolis. It is crowded. It's busy. There tend to be a mixture of people there that I am super excited to see and people that I will avoid at all costs so as to prevent being harassed. It's a big mess. It's a minefield of practical and social anxieties. And every year, I go through the same rigmarole where I'm like, maybe this is the year I won't go. Maybe I'll get over the idea that I don't get to see my friends at Gen Con. Maybe I'll get over the idea that I don't get to do the Adam Cole Power Hour, or like I can put aside all the nice stuff that I like about Gen Con and save myself the stress. But I haven't managed to commit to it yet. Because for me, the benefits of going, that kind of like, see the friends I only see, stay up all night, playing games, interacting with other designers, getting surprised by the fun random things that sometimes happen. Those things for me currently outweigh all of the stress and anxiety, right? And I think the only way, and this is sort of the danger, the only way I'm ever going to know if it's worth it or not is to skip it. So it's the only way. I'm going to have to 1 year just not go and learn from my own reaction, right? If I skip it and Gen Con comes and goes and I'm like, wow, I actually feel pretty okay about not going. I don't feel any FOMO. I don't feel like I'm missing out. I'm not sad. I feel fine. Then I know maybe Gen Con's not worth all the effort. But if I skip it and I feel sad and regretful and like I missed something fun and cool and I miss my friends, then I know that maybe Gen Con is worth all the hassle, right? And I think sometimes, as with so much in life, you can theorize and you can wonder and you can imagine, you can fantasize, but reality is very different from what goes on in your brain most of the time, right? So for me, it's about testing that stuff. And what I've done to figure that out is not go to other conventions. I've skipped other smaller, less intense conventions. I've been skipping PAX East. right? I stopped going to PAX South. I don't know if I'm going to go to Unplugged again. Like, recognizing that I can test this out is a way for me to figure out where my balance lies, right? So the reason that I'm spending Jeeves's entire question answer period sort of talking about myself is because I don't know, Jeeves, what is or isn't going to be good for you. It sounds to me like you've already got your answer, right? Now, I don't know. Maybe Jeeves, maybe you were writing this and you were thinking, oh God, like I actually do feel really bad and I want to feel better. And I want Adam to tell me, no, suck it up and go. But in that case, maybe I'm just your coin flip, right? What I mean is maybe you wrote this question so that you could hear me tell you what to do so that you could have a response to it, right? So whether I say you should go or don't go and just live your life on your own, maybe that's going to have a reaction for you. What I will suggest, and I see other people suggesting this in chat as well, something that could be of use to you is like finding another excuse to hang out with your friends. I think that's really smart. Whether it's everybody gets together in a cabin in the mountains in Colorado for the weekend, whether it's you all, go to Las Vegas, or whether you just hold a little house con and the person with the biggest house has everybody come visit for a couple of days, right? Like you can find other ways to do the things that you love without paying a convention organizer to do it. Now, it might be that what you love about the conventions isn't just being with your friends. It might be what you like about it is going to panels with your friends, doing magic tournaments with your friends, seeing live music, or watching your your favorite nerd bands play. Like if those things are what you like about the convention, doing those things with your friends, then do that, right? Like keep doing it, because it's not about the convention. It's about doing certain activities with those specific people. My example for that is PAX West. PAX West, formerly PAX Prime, is the con at which I occasionally get to like hang out with friends. I see some of my friends. I get to do some stuff. I get to perform specific activities with them. And that for me is fun, right? It's a con, but it's a con with those friends. So kind of like what I advise new DMs to do when they want to steal material from like books and comics and movies. So what I think you should do here, friend Jeeves, is like look at what you like about the convention, right? Because it doesn't sound to me like the planning, the travel, or the event themselves, right? It sounds to me like what you like is your friends. So here's what I think you should do. And here's what I would do if I were trying to figure this out. And I say this because I have done it before. Go to the people that you like hanging out with, and maybe in a group message or however you all communicate on your little, like the Discord you use or Slack or whatever, get in there and start a message thread and say, hey, who would be interested in doing something non-conventional with me? My tastes are non-conventional. Talk to them about hanging out. Be like, why don't we try to do something where we all, instead of spending $100 on a ticket and $1,000 on a hotel room that we all have to jam into, maybe instead we could just have like a cool board game, role-playing game, hangout, sleepover thing at an Airbnb we all rent together, or like find what you love. And I don't know, maybe this sounds like a truism, but find the things that you love and then just do those things and don't do the other crap that isn't fun, except when it enables you to do the fun thing, right? So I guess to answer your question, which was, is this okay? The answer, Jeeves, is yes, but don't assume that just because you had more fun not going once, that you will never have fun going again, right? Consider the idea that you are a person whose opinions and feelings and needs change from year to year, from month to month, week to week, day to day, hour to hour, right? So while taking a break from the con is probably pretty good for you if it stresses you out, you might come to a point later on, a couple years down the line, where you're like, you know what? I miss that. I miss being around a ton of people. I miss all the nerd stuff. I miss going to panels with my friends, right? All that stuff can be something that maybe you just get overloaded on, right? So give yourself room to recover from convention overload. And I say this as someone who has suffered from that overload myself. Like I feel you. This 2020 is the year of going to fewer conventions and having more fun at the fewer conventions I go to so that I don't get burned out. So what I think you should do is just skip it. Go on that vacation alone, have a great time, and then figure out next year what you really want to do. And in the meantime, talk to your friends, because I bet you're not the only one that feels that way. I bet some of your other friends are like, oh my God, I was just waiting for somebody to come forward and say, do we actually like doing this? And I think that as human beings, but also as nerds in general, that is the thing we get locked into, right? Behavioral fandoms, where we do stuff because the doing of the thing is part of who we are. I've done some of that, right? I go to Gen Con partly because going to Gen Con is a thing that Adam Coble, game designer and RPG streamer, does. It would be off-brand and outside of my identity to not go, in a way. We tend to identify with these things, especially traditions, right? If you go every year for 6 years, it's really hard to say no to year 7, but it's much easier to say no to year 8 and year 9, and then maybe to year 10, right? Breaking a pattern, de-identifying with behaviors, especially capitalism-focused behaviors like engaging in a convention, it can be really, really hard to do, to break those habits. And so I think if you want to have perspective on the things you do in your life, every once in a while, you kind of need to take a step back from those things and say to yourself and to your loved ones, hold on, are we actually having fun? Because you might find that your answer and the answers of your friends and peers is no, not really. In which case, now you are free to find new things that you will have fun doing. So do that, right? Do those things. Take a break, give yourself some room, try new things. It's hard, but as we saw, like with Jeeves, like sometimes gives you a nice perspective on things. It's it's a combination. I think these two pieces of kind of aphoristic advice have been given in regards to human beings, but I think they apply to any repetitive stimulus. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, and familiarity breeds contempt. So if you apply those two maxims to things like going to conventions, you might find that you miss them. You might find that you're freed temporarily from the hassles of going, and freedom from that pressure can make you feel better about the thing, right? If you love the con, let it go. So I don't know, try it out. Sounds like you're already on the right track, Jeeves. If all I can do is encourage you to continue, Jeeves, continue. So our second question, a little shorter on the second question this time, comes from Seth. And they ask, hey, Adam, I've recently started a relationship and I really like this person. They're great. But they have a lot of toxic people in their life. They recognize the people are toxic, but they won't cut them out of their life and forgive them for their shitty behavior because they still care about them. I realize it can be hard to cut someone off. It's really frustrating because my significant other puts others before herself, and I want what's best for her and her mental health. I don't entirely know what I'm asking, but I'm not very experienced and I don't know what to do. Well, I mean, that's a fucking brave thing to say, don't you think? Like, just straight up being like, I don't know what I want. I have not got enough experience to handle this myself. Please talk to me about this. Like that, Seth, fuck yeah. That's great. So I think it's complicated, right? It's complicated because on the one hand, I believe that fundamentally the relationships that we have with people are dyadic in the sense that My relationship with, I'm going to pick a random person from chat. My relationship with Chrome Viper is about me and my needs, and Chrome Viper and their needs, and our independent individual relationship with one another. Now, it's affected by Chrome Viper's relationship to everyone else in chat, and it's affected by my relationship to everybody else in chat. But ultimately, the only thing that really matters when I think about my relationship with Chrome Viper is Chrome Viper and me. We have a unique bond that no one else has, and that's all that matters when it comes down to that conversation, right? This is why if Chrome Viper is friends with someone obnoxious, like Mara, for example, I'm not going to blame or get upset at Chrome Viper for being friends with Mara, because that's not really my choice. I'm not going to make that decision. I'm just going to accept that Chrome Viper and Mara are friends, and Mara is super annoying, and that's okay. That's not on me, right? But if I'm spending a ton of time around Chrome Viper and Mara, it might make me feel less positive, because I'm sitting here and I'm having a conversation with Chrome Viper, and Mara is, I don't know, running around tipping over garbage cans and being obnoxious, right? That does affect me. But in that case, that's not about my relationship with Chrome Viper, right? That's about my relationship with Mara. And what I need to do is say, Mara, you are ruining my conversation with Chrome Viper. Sit the fuck down and eat your French fries, right? I guess what I'm trying to acknowledge here is the complex interplay between individual relationships and the way that other people's relationships with people can alter the way that we feel, right? So in theory, right, if we go with the statement that I made earlier about how every relationship is unique and it's about two people interacting and shouldn't really be about anything else, that's idealistic, right? That's not actually how it works, because other people exist and they influence each other, and we are social creatures that form groups, right? There is a group dynamic that develops. So what I'm seeing here is Seth and anonymous partner, right? Seth and friend, they're doing great, right? They are doing fantastic. But Seth is being negatively impacted by SO, this other person, and the way they operate their own relationships. Now, if Seth goes to SO here and says, hey, your friends suck, right? There are good ways and bad ways to do that. If I say, hey, Chrome Viper, Mara sucks. You need to stop being friends with Mara. That is not okay, right? That's not my job. That's not my responsibility. That's not my right. I can say to Chrome Viper, hey, Chrome Viper, when we hang out, I would prefer to do it when Mara is at a great distance from us, right? I feel just on edge and annoyed and frustrated when I'm around Mara. So I would like to not hang out with the two of you together. That is an acceptable thing. You're allowed, right? That's totally okay. But you can't say, Chrome Viper, don't be friends with Mara, right? Seth has no right to say, do not be friends with these toxic people, right? Now, you can say to a person, here are the ways in which your choices affect me, right? Seth can say, I am stressed out, I am hurt, I am worried, I am nervous, I am anxious, whatever negative feelings Seth is feeling, those are real and they're okay, right? That is allowed. But Seth's significant other doesn't have to do anything about that, right? The significant other can say, thank you, Seth. I understand. I appreciate hearing that. I'm sorry that you are negatively affected. Let's talk about that. Or SO can just be like, that sucks. Let's just keep you away from those people, right? You don't have to be friends with your significant other's friends. You don't. I'm going to say it again because it feels really important to me. You do not have to be friends. You do not have to be friends with your significant other's friends. You just fucking don't. Seriously, I can see why you'd want to, and I can see why we get into these positions, but personally, I just don't think that it's a requirement. So it's okay, Seth, for you to say, sweetheart, darling, beloved of mine, light of my life, I can't wait to spend time with you. Please do not invite your friends. The end, right? And that's a relationship. Works out great. But if what you'd like is to help this person get to a place where they are not surrounded by toxic people, that can be help you can offer, but it might be that this person doesn't see them that way, right? Like, for example, Chrome Viper and I are trying to enjoy a delicious, Burger King Whopper. Let's say we're sitting there at Burger King, we're eating a Whopper, we're having a nice time. Mara is running around, screaming at people, stealing French fries off their table. Chrome Viper and I are still having a great time, right? We both accept that Mara is how they are, and we're okay. We're friends with Mara. Everyone else on Earth might think that Mara is a weird trash goblin, but that's okay, right? We're allowed to have that relationship. And that's okay. Not everybody needs to be friends with everybody else. Not everybody likes to be friends and care about and like everybody else. That's okay, right? Seth, I know that it is scary and feels weird to conflict about something as innate as like this person is bad for you. And I think that if you and another person care deeply about each other, then you can have that conversation, right? But come at it from a place of concern. Come at it from a place of, I want you to better understand my feelings, not, hey, we're going to have a conversation about how you need to get rid of your toxic friends. Because I think if you come to it from a place of like, I want us to exchange feelings about this topic. I don't want you to change your behavior. I'm not here to like screw up your whole social life. I'm not making any demands. I just want to tell you that your friends are fucking up my life. And I'm worried they might be fucking your life up too. Expressing concern and upset. And then just listen. Right? Ask questions. And try, because I feel like if you come to your partner and you say, hey, everybody you like sucks, they're going to be very defensive. And I definitely think that you need to weather that, right? Because that will happen. If somebody came to me and was like, hey, everybody you know sucks, my first thought would be like, hey, shut up. You can't talk about Chrome Viper and Mara like that. They're my friends. Fuck you. Right? I'm going to want to defend my friends. And there's a lot of narrative about like, girl, just cut those toxic people out of your life. And that's a great point, Makalu. So it's not that easy, right? What might seem to you, Seth, as an easy thing, is tell those people to fuck off. To your person, your SO here, it may represent a much larger challenge. But remember, we often define ourselves, intentionally or otherwise, by the people and the things that we associate with, right? This is why people get upset when you criticize Star Wars, because people think, I am a Star War. How dare you? And in the same way, your SO here, Seth, might think, wait a second, if all my friends suck, and I love them, maybe I also suck. And if I suck, then you are saying you don't like me, and I thought we were in love, and now I'm having a crisis of identity because you said that you don't like my friends. You're allowed. But also, this SO of yours is allowed to say, sorry, these are my friends. You don't know them as well as I do. You don't have to be friends with them. Maybe that's where you end up. But I think it's worth a conversation, right? If you are feeling something bad not talking about it is almost never the right thing to do. You know this person better than I do. I'd like to think that if you are indeed enjoying this relationship, the two of you are happy together, I have to believe that SO here is going to listen to you and you express your concerns and your feelings. But I don't know. There may be some hard shit to weather first. Because I know that a lot of us define ourselves by being like ride or die for our friends. And like, it's the same kind of feeling that people get around like patriotism, right? What is that? What is that phrase? America, right or wrong? Right? This idea of like, well, I don't care if they're garbage. They're my friends. And that's not good. That's not safe. Loyalty is fine, but don't expect it to be easy to untangle. Yeah. And respect other people's relationships, right? Like, if you look at me and you say, you know, I would like Adam a hell of a lot more if he wasn't friends with Mara. I mean, I guess that's fair, right? Maybe you and Mara have some beef that I don't know about. I have a different relationship with this particular goblin than you do, right? Yeah, don't pressure. And that's Krobosar gives a good point. It's a hard place to be. And I honestly, I do really like feel for you because every person I have ever met and cared about, every single one has at least one, probably more than one, friend I cannot fucking stand. That's not my friend's fault. It just happens, right? For every Chrome Viper, there's a Mara. That's just how it works. We don't have to be friends with everybody. This question becomes infinitely more complex and infinitely more frustrating when it's about polyamory and like polycules and fucking metamors and stuff. Woo! I am not even going to get started on that shit. Just consider yourself lucky that you're not mired in that particular mess because that's a whole other thing. Whew. So I don't know. You don't have to like everybody. Your friends can be different to you than they are to other people. I will say as an aside though, right? As you are getting to know someone, and this isn't aimed at Seth anymore, but as you are getting to know someone, if all of their friends and everyone they interact with and their whole community are a bunch of toxic jerkbags, I need you to know this person might also be a jerkbag. Like, honestly, if you meet somebody and they're like, no, I'm not a Nazi. I just like hanging out in Nazi Facebook groups and reading Mein Kampf and talking about the final I'm not a Nazi, though. All my friends are Nazis. And so it's like, yo, that person probably not a safe bet to hang out with. You can learn things about people from their environment, but in this case, I think that something else is going on. I think that maybe these people either seem toxic or they legitimately are, but they have done the work with this person to like get through it. Or maybe they're just shit and your partner, your SO, whatever, they're afraid to get rid of them. Whatever it is, you will never get to the basis of it unless you are honest about your feelings with your partner. You sit down, you talk about it, you express how you feel, you listen to them when they express how they feel, and you come up with some kind of synthesis or not. Right? And that's the thing. And I have to say, while I'm paying attention to chat here, Max Volume, I'm sorry, but if all your friends are nerds, you're probably a nerd. Or you might be that one guy from Freaks and Geeks who plays D&D with the nerds, but he's actually a cool kid. You might be Carlos the Dwarf, but you're probably a nerd. Sorry. That's just how it goes. Our third question today, question number 3, is from Siru. So Siru says, I love this question. I have a best friend who is awesome. Just gonna come here on my Twitch channel and brag. Just gonna brag about your best friend. How dare you? How dare you? I have a best friend who is awesome and we get along really well. Rub it in, why don't you? And I think I might have a crush on her. Ooh, shit. Long ago, the subject of us possibly having a relationship came up in conversation briefly. Back then, we both agreed a platonic friendship works for us better. Well, after that, I may have developed feelings for her. I think about her a lot, and I think she's a great person, though I'm not sure we would work well in a romantic relationship. I'm afraid of bringing this up again because of the conclusion we reached last time. I don't want to ruin the friendship and make it awkward. Also, to complicate things further, I've also heard of friendship crushes that have no romantic component, but are kind of similar to regular crushes. Oh, my little aromantic heart. It's going. My black heart's beating for you. Is it possible I just happen to find my friend sexually attractive, but I have no desire for a romantic relationship? And if not, and I'm actually in love with her, how do I deal with that? Is it possible to bury my feelings until they subside? Yes. Yes to all of that. Just yes across the board. Just big yeses for the bragger Siru from start to finish. All of it. All of it is yes. So let's go back through the question. We'll talk about a couple of specific points, but honestly, whatever you are feeling, valid. How you handle those feelings and what to do with that, we'll figure it out. So, I have a best friend who's awesome. We get along really well. I think maybe I have a crush on her. Long ago, the subject of us having a relationship came up in conversation briefly. You already had a relationship. You still have a relationship. That has not changed. Like before you had that talk, relationship. After the talk, relationship. In between, relationship. Huge fight, and you never speak again. Relationship. Right? We all have, there's only two states you can have with a person, right? You can have, I do not know they exist, or I have a relationship with them. That's it. There are only those two things. Once you have formed a relationship with a person of any tenor whatsoever, you'll never not have a relationship with them, right? Ever. This is how it is. Like only a total lack of awareness of a person's existence permits you to not have a relationship with them, right? Those relationships can change. They will alter over time. Their tone, their tenor, their pace, their quality, their contents, all of those things will shift dramatically, right? You might sometimes go for walks in the rain together, holding hands under an umbrella, and kiss in front of the ice cream shop. You might get in fist fights. You might rule a post-apocalyptic desert wasteland together, but you're never not going to have a relationship. That relationship is just going to change over time. So how do you navigate that, right? How do you do that knowing that the relationship in and of itself is a byproduct of the desires and actions of the people that are engaged in it, right? What is the way that you can meaningfully navigate that space? It sounds to me like you're already doing it, right? It sounds to me like you're capable. You're having these conversations. You talked, and at the time you agreed, engaging in a romantic relationship with each other probably wasn't going to improve your relationship in any way, right? You made that decision. It is a bit, I don't want to step on Alanis's toes and say that it's, ironic, but it's a bit funny in that kind of like falling down a manhole and dying way where you're like, yes, best friend, I agree. We should not be in a romantic relationship. I think it best if we continue our friendship as it is. And then right afterwards, you're like, oh no, I love you. Right? Like that, it sucks. And it puts you in this awkward position to be like, excuse me. So that conversation we had yesterday, I've changed my mind. I am desperately and meaningfully in love with you. Right? And you know what? I think the way you feel about a person shifts and changes, right? Some days you look at a person and you're like, damn, you're hot. I would love to bang you. And other days you're like, damn, you're a productive member of society. Good job. Right? Like your relationship with a person is going to change moment to moment, day to day. And even if you say tomorrow, I love you, The day after, you might be like, I love you, but it's different now, right? We need to give ourselves room for that and not feel uncomfortable or silly or embarrassed, right? Like, I think that if you can get into a place with a person where you can just straight up be honest about like, here's how I feel about you today, right now, and they can do the same, that's great. Like, I just think that's so nice. I love hearing, even if it's something like unexpected or different, I love hearing what people think about me. I love it. I'm like, everybody has that like piece of ego in them that just loves hearing what people think and how they feel. So I think that in this case, if you have romantic feelings for, no, Mara, you're a butt. If you have romantic feelings for somebody and you feel like you want to talk to them, right? Preface this conversation with like, hey, so, I know we talked about this before, and I am not trying to get you to change your mind. I don't want to try to manipulate you. That's not what this is about. But I've been thinking about it, and holy shit, you're the best. I love you. That's all. I just want you to know. I love you, and I think you're cool, and I love you in a more meaningful way than maybe I thought I did yesterday. I just wanted to tell you. And then hopefully this person will be like, shit, yeah. I like hearing that. I have not changed my feelings. I think you're great. We're good friends, and I appreciate that you are going to tell me this, but that's fine, right? I think we have to be open to the idea of just telling people what we think and not expecting anything in return. Somebody once told me, I'm going to give you two ends of the story, right? So in my experience, once I had someone tell me out loud, which is, usually kind of a bigger deal than telling you in text. Somebody said to me like, hey, Adam, I love you. And I remember responding by like laughing, partly because I was like a little nervous, but partly because I felt uncomfortable, but also made me happy to hear that. And I remember laughing, and I'm sure I said something like, thank you, or like, you're really cool, or like, this conversation was really nice. I said something positive and reaffirming, but I definitely didn't say, hey, I love you too, because I hadn't quite figured out like that relationship and whether that was appropriate for me to say it. But I was really happy that they felt comfortable saying that. Now, on the flip side of that, I have been in relationships where somebody told me, and this is a real thing. I looked at someone once, we were having an intimate conversation, and there was a pause, and I looked at them and I smiled. And instead of saying to me, I love you, they pointed at me as if noticing something that I hadn't noticed. And they said, you love me. One of those conversations felt like an accepting, gentle expression of a person's feelings. The other, like, it felt borderline like abuse. Like, it was like I was being told how to feel. And I know that this person was just trying to be sweet and cute and like diffuse an awkward situation and maybe like give me an opening to say I love you when maybe I wasn't sure or I wasn't ready to say it. They wanted to help give me a little nudge, but it was absolutely not the right way to go about it. And I will never forget how uncomfortable I felt in that moment. And it really affected the whole relationship. And so I think that what we need to learn to do is to become comfortable. And I struggle with this myself, become comfortable talking about our feelings with other people, right? I think that we need to be able to talk about these things in a non-coercive way. We need to learn how to say I love you and expect nothing in return, which is what I hope that Siru can do. Now, to get into the sort of deeper identity stuff, for me personally, and I'm going to talk about this from my perspective as an aromantic person. So I don't experience, and it's taken me literally, I just about looked at my watch, 35 years, 3 months and 3 days to figure out that I don't think I feel interest and attraction to people in the same way other people do. That feeling of, and maybe this is why being told you love me hurts so much, Because it's like telling an asexual you want to have sex with me, or telling a gay person you want to have sex with this person who's not the same gender as you. Like it's identity breaking. Interesting. Anyway, I don't feel romantic attraction the way other people do. And it doesn't mean that I'm not interested in people. So for me, Siru, and I don't know if this is the same for you or what, for me, I have a physical response to people that I am excited about that is often translated as I want to do a sex thing with this person, right? I get a little shivery feeling sometimes and I'm like, oh, my brain is excited about this person, but that's my body saying like, yeah, get close to them, like be near that person. That's how I can feel like interest, right? For the rest of it, it's curiosity. For the rest of it, I'm like, I wonder what they're thinking. I wonder what they're doing. I wonder why they think that. Why are they wearing that shirt? Why did they make their hair look like that? Why did they pick those glasses? What do their tattoos mean? Do they mean anything? Why does this person like Dungeons and Dragons? Why don't they like Dungeons and Dragons? And I just want to observe and ring them out and just be like, tell me everything. Let me learn you. That is for me. Oh, damn. That is for me what is the most exciting, right? I really like the feeling of learning about people, right? I want to know what they're about. So that's what it feels like in lieu of traditional romance, right? So, you know, it's one of those things where the more experience that I get, the more experience I get with relationships and with other humans, the more I realize that what we consider to be a spectrum is a lot more broad, a lot more granular than I thought. It's not just red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. There is a massive and detailed spectrum of how we interact with and how we feel about people. So with each individual relationship, and over time this is going to change, we find the tone and the tenor of that relationship that best works for us. This is why I believe in friends becoming partners. This is why I like the idea of people who have a casual one night stand then becoming activity buddies, right? This is why I like the idea of people getting married early, getting a divorce, and then dating each other. I like the idea of aromantic co-parenting. I want people to customize and build the relationship that makes them feel good. So Siru, if you are feeling sexually attracted to this person, that's okay. If you are feeling romantically attracted to this person, that's okay too. If you're feeling like putting this person in a box and shipping them to Mars and never speaking to them again, I guess that's okay too. You know, I think that you are allowed to feel whatever you feel, right? We're allowed to have emotions. It's what you do with them that matters, right? So you've had this hard conversation before, right? Right up here. Came up in conversation, agreed on a platonic friendship. That's cool. But like, check in. Have that conversation again. Be ready to hear, thanks, but no thanks. I don't need to see your genitals. But also be prepared for, oh my God, I thought you'd never ask. Because sometimes we have a hard time being brave. Sometimes it's hard talking about our feelings. Sometimes it's hard being vulnerable. And I think if we're going to get anywhere in life, somebody needs to take that risk. And it sounds to me like you're getting there, right? Now, if none of that sounds like it feels good to you, if you don't want to do that, if you're scared or you don't want to have that conversation or you think it's going to like fuck things up and you want to get rid of those feelings, is it possible? Yeah, of course, completely. I don't subscribe either through my own experience or through what I've observed in others. I don't subscribe to the idea that love is something that just happens to us and that we don't get to choose how we interact with it, right? Now, maybe you can't control how you feel, right? But you can starve those feelings of what they need to live, right? There are clear physical things that we can do to encourage or discourage falling in love. right? And there are studies that are done on this. If you don't want to be in love with somebody, avoid sleeping next to them, limit your eye contact, right? There are things that you can do. So I guess if you really want to steer your feelings away from sex and romance, then look into that, right? Like learn things that you can do. And honestly, this is the hard bit. Talk to this person about it, right? Like, I know it sounds so hard, but like have that conversation and be like, yo, this is where I'm at right now. How are you feeling? And if they say, I'm not really there with you, say to them, okay, I'm going to try to work on like adjusting my barometer. I'm going to try to move my feelings back to a place that is like comfortable and safe for both of us. And I would like your help, right? These are the things that I'm going to need. And if I am distant in these ways, it's because I'm trying to reorganize my brain, right? I'm trying to fix how I feel about the relationship. Now you can do that. Get help, like work on it, you know? And when it comes down to it, if you need help with these things and you talk and you ask this person for help, they're going to either say, yeah, let's do it. Let's have that conversation, or they're going to shy away. And if they shy away, you need to decide how much you are willing to put yourself out there and how much you want to push to get them to engage. But it might not be safe for them. Hopefully they can at least engage enough to tell you why they don't want to. But change is an inevitability in every relationship, no matter how much we'd like to believe it isn't. All we can do is try to go along with that change, try to guide it to a place where it is healthy and comfortable. Because your relationships are going to change. That's a given, right? Yeah. So there you go. I think that's all I have to say for today on these subjects. But if you have questions or topics, or honestly, like the submissions that I get that are just, hey, Adam, no question, can we talk about this thing? I like those too. So definitely reach out. Go to my website, www.adam-koebel.com. Click on the Hot for Teacher link, fill out the form. Let me know what's on your mind. What are you thinking about? What's going on with you? And then we'll talk about it. Because I bet you, A, you're not alone. And B, your story will be of benefit to other people who maybe think they're alone. So yeah. And don't, as always, and I don't think I've said this in a few episodes, but don't let this be the only time today that you think about your relationships. Don't let this be the only time this week you think about your relationships, right? Talk to the people you care about. Talk to them about your relationship with them. Try to engage in your relationships as if they were something worth putting effort into, because turns out they are. Thanks for coming, everybody. A special thank you to Chrome Viper and Tamara for letting me pick on them this episode. I like both of you. You're great. Thank you. And for everybody else for coming, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye, y'all.